Now, may I now request Thiru Santosh K. Misra, IAS, the CEO of the Commissionerate of E-Governance, Government of Tamil Nadu, to present his views. Mr. Misra.
Thank you, Professor Suresh, and thank you, Akram, for having me here. Good afternoon, all panelists and all the people joining this seminar. I think I was very keenly listening to the previous speakers, and both of them, Mr. Reiki and Mr. Kodandraman, have actually covered what I wanted to say. This is a very fascinating and difficult times at the same time. Things are rapidly changing in terms of technology, in terms of digitization. And we at the government, we have chosen to select our priorities so that we make the maximum out of this technology revolution which is happening. So as Mr. Reiki was saying, and it was also shared by Mr. Kodandraman, fundamentally, I think this future of education, we need to, the planners and the education givers, they will really need to teach about 4 things. Prepare the students about 4 things. First one is change, because today what we saw, change, even though we have been hearing, is a constant feature, but this pandemic brought out that change can be very, very rapid. When internet started, probably we did not imagine its true impact. And in fact, I was listening to one of the videos, I was watching one short clip where Bill Gates was trying to explain to David Letterman what internet is going to do. And he said, oh, on the internet, you can hear the live baseball game which is going on. And then he says, David Letterman says, oh, you mean like a radio? And this guy says, and there's a big laughter. And then this guy says, no, you can actually listen to it whenever you like. So the response from David Letterman was, oh, that reminds me of a tape recorder. So the point is that very few of us back then understood what internet brings. What it has fundamentally brought is democratization of knowledge. And what Tech 4.0 is going to do, whether you are talking about AI or IoT or blockchain or what you have, this is about democratization of learning, which means everyone, whether it is college students, researchers, or school students, will have access to quality resources world over, provided we have the connectivity ensured to them. And this fundamentally changes a lot of things, which premises based on which educational delivery models have been built. So as I said, change is what we need to teach our students. Second thing we need to build into our education system in future, if we really want to cope up and maximize the benefit we stand to gain from these technologies, is build in flexibility. And I think new education policy, which the Honorable Minister was also talking about in the previous session, does precisely that. It has to allow people to move in and move out of educational streams and join them whenever and wherever they want to do that. And I think great thing is that this pandemic has made this model. If I had made this a statement before this corona crisis, probably people would have said, what are you saying? How can you continue education wherever? But now you can see the children are studying in schools all over the country and traveling and still not missing their classes. Whether it is a good thing or a bad thing is another topic to debate. But the fact is that the acceptability of technological intervention and acceptability of the fact that the lectures or teaching material can be delivered over a device has really reached a point of no return, I guess. So change, flexibility, ethics. I'm very happy that Mr. Reiki talked about ethics. I think that's something we need to really build into our education system, given the fact this Tech 4.0 is particularly susceptible to ethics. In fact, one of the biggest public policy challenges, and I am a public policy and technology, I work at the intersection of public policy and technology, and I see the biggest challenge of AI adoption in government, particularly, and overall, I think in private sector as well, is how do you make AI ethical and safe to use? In fact, we in Tamil Nadu have, I authored the first country's first ethical and safe AI policy, and it's available on our website, Tamil Nadu e-governance agency's website. You can just search for ethics and ethical AI policy, and I'm sure it will come. So ethics is something we really need to prepare our students of today, so that tomorrow when they start being a stakeholder in this AI driven ecosystem, where a large number of jobs will be actually taken over by AI driven systems, most probably they will have to have a very clear understanding of how these systems work, what are the pros and cons of not building ethical models, and this will be very, very important for us as a society when we move forward. And fourth thing which we need to build into our education system, these are accelerated times. So what used to take a year of delivery, we can include vocational education. If you ever attempt to do a vocational education course of a painter, for example, it takes about 1.5 years. I don't think anybody has that kind of time or energy. Neither do you have so much material to teach. So I think we need to reinvent our relook, reprioritize our educational delivery systems and build those into our education systems. And I was happy when I was listening to Mr. Kodandraman that you can use AR, VR, very difficult concepts of differential gears, stuff in, which are hard to teach, simulators. I remember TCS had built a welding simulator, which because welding is an expensive exercise, particularly if you're doing TIG welding or titanium welding, etc. So you have these simulators which can actually teach at low cost. So again, from government perspective, my last point is there are 3 things we are wanting to do. One is using AI in improved learning outcomes so that you allow children to learn at their own pace, which is possible. The problem with the class is that everybody has to go at the same pace. And if you look at our ancient Gurukul systems, because the system was built around verbal education and education delivery mode was verbal one-to-one, the teacher could raise or lower the level of teaching depending on the reception which the student was getting. So he or she could get a higher, in the same class, in the same cohort, they can get a higher exposure or a lower exposure depending on where they are at the learning curve. So this is something which is possible with the artificial intelligence based systems. You can also use these systems in government for getting rid of all the non-critical and mundane things. So for example, we have introduced a face recognition system. Every day 45 minutes is taken in taking attendance in schools, in government schools particularly. So we have built a system which does face recognition system. We launched it in 2 schools. Just children walk in and attendance is done. Saves 45 minutes a day, which is a substantial saving in terms of time, leaves more time for teachers to focus on what is more important. Third is and this was Professor Kodandraman's reference to gamification of education. Make education fun. I think that's third thing we in the government would be looking at doing, and we would like to partner with the right agencies. So these are some of my observations, and I hope while we are debating, on the most appropriate. We need to make our future of education accepting change, being flexible, including ethics or ingraining ethics into the education, and accelerating learning, making learning fun, taking time out of teachers from non-necessary activity, and also allowing teacher students to learn at their own pace. So these are some of the points I wanted to share with you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Misra. Very valid points, very relevant points there, particularly your emphasis on reprioritizing the education delivery system. That's very important. Well taken. And of course, the need for flexibility that has been introduced in a big way in the national education policy. And of course, your dot there when you said that change is the only constant. Thank you so much for your valuable inputs.